Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon at CIONET studio here. But a very nice topic, one of my favorite topics. And I have two people around the table in a physical sense, and I have one person sitting in Paris. And today it's a talk about digital sovereignty, geopolitics a little bit, all kinds of things that happens in the world around us, and how it affects us as IT leaders in a way. So it's nice. And first I want to introduce some people here. At the distance in Paris, there's Miguel Álvarez, Ángel Álvarez Bernardo, if I pronounce it well, Miguel? Sort of.
That is good. That is good.
Good enough? Good enough, I hope so.
Good enough, yes.
On my right side, there's Kevin Tjoe.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. And on my left side is Pierrick Reglioni.
Yeah.
It's a little bit Italian name, but he's from Lyon. So he's just French. And the good thing is we organize this together with Orange. Exactly. Orange is pretty well a French-oriented organization, but active in many other countries. And one of the topics, like I said, I like the most is digital sovereignty or data sovereignty. And I'm sitting in several organizations, and this is really a boardroom topic of today. And I hope that everybody else in the call today, it's an online call, and we are happy to be that we planned it as an online call, because if this would be in The Hague today, it was virtually impossible to attend this one. So very welcome to everyone in the call, and I hope you will enjoy it. And if you really like to mix and mingle in the digital way, and you have questions, and I'm sure there will be, put them in the chat. I will be seeing them. I have my laptop on the table, and I try to incorporate the questions and the remarks you may have in the talk. It's a very conversational setting, so I will be posing some questions, but I hope that everybody will join, and here at the table that we have a nice conversation about this. And I hope that that will be enlightened after 3/4 of an hour. So to start with this, if there is no further questions from your side, I would like to start with Miguel. Miguel, I posed you the question a little bit before we started. If I mentioned Gaia X, would this be a strange term for you?
No.
Because digital sovereignty, now everybody talks about it, but it started earlier, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, fortunately or unfortunately, it's a very current topic these days. And geopolitics have made it so that we all think about this nowadays. But already for a while, European administrations and large institutions have thought about, okay, how do we make sure that we have control of our data? And in the past, it was, okay, I will keep it in my own company, I will keep it in my own data center, but that cuts you off from a lot of innovation. So when people started getting together, and then we built an association at European level. At Orange, we're happy to support it, GaiaX, to look for alternatives in terms of trusted and sovereign cloud. And there has been a lot of development since, and you can see it now. Even all three of the hyperscalers are really heavily invested in this concept, because they see it as a necessity to be able to be relevant to European needs.
Yeah, and can you explain a little bit on what your organization does these days? What is the kind of proposition you put in the market these days? And maybe you work with a lot of large entities and large corporations, I guess, large customers. Is it also something you do for mid-range customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe let me tell you where I'm coming from to this conversation. I recently started as the Chief Data and AI Officer at Orange Business. I've been here for a while. I'm Spanish, even though based in France. And by the way, Orange Business, we have, of course, strong roots in France, but we're a global organization, 30,000 employees, 8 billion euro in turnover, and we operate and provide services in 200 countries. So we're really international. But of course, we serve companies of all sizes. In France, from the very small mom and pop shop all the way to the large multinationals. In Europe, we serve mid-sized, large, and multinational companies. In some of the territories in Europe, we go all the way to the very small companies, because we also have retail presence. I see that the video has frozen. I hope that you can still hear me.
And, yeah, we hear you.
All right, that is perfect. And I think that the question of sovereignty and how we provide the services that our customer needs is very present. And it's very present for myself also as a customer. I think that many of you need to deal with these questions in your organization as you are transforming, you are trying to adopt AI, and I'm dealing with them myself. The way that I try to explain this to my teams is that this is a triangle. It's not a single dimension. We want to have trust and sovereignty. We want to have innovation, and we want to have the right cost, the right price. And we need to find the points around the triangle, not necessarily a single one, that fit the best who we are as a company and what we need. And as I mentioned, at Orange, we serve customers of all sizes. So that includes a lot of very sensitive customers who are themselves in regulated industries, banks, public institutions, and so on. And we, as a telco, we operate as well in a regulated industry. So for our digital services, we take this very seriously into account. And the way that we try and look at that is this notion of choice. We want to build a platform where some of the core components are sovereign by default, because that means that I do not need to have several different stacks. I can have a more unified technology stack. But still, I need to have the right integration mechanisms, because not all of my data is going to be sitting in one place.
Okay, so, just to clarify, you talk about we are building a platform. How does that look like? What does it mean for companies if you work from a platform, from your platform? What does it entail?
Yeah, so the platform that we're building relies on components that we have developed ourselves and also with our partners. One of the big bricks is called Bleu, which is a sovereign version of the Azure stack that we have built together with Capgemini. Orange and Capgemini are both shareholders. And Microsoft, of course, is a very, very strong technology partner. But very importantly, Microsoft is not a shareholder. Microsoft is our partner because this company is a European company with European staff, with data centers based in France, and therefore is not subject to American regulation. It's not subject to the American Cloud Act, and any kind of workloads, including sensitive workloads, can be stored there, while at the same time benefiting from the latest technology, including M365, including the latest technology from Azure. So that is one very big brick that we developed. And then, of course, we have our own homegrown platform built on OpenStack, built on VMware, where we are also supporting different types of applications, and that is also Segment Cloud compliant, so it's also compliant with European sovereign regulations. And most of the data for ourselves and for our migration is built on either of these two platforms. And then we interconnect, of course, with other public clouds and with other services.
All right. And do you witness differences per country in Europe?
Yeah, there are differences per country. I think, and I'm sure that we're going to come back to that based on the questions. The concept of sovereignty and the concept of trust is not exactly identical for everyone. At the end of the day, you want to know what you're doing with your data, and you want to know how it's being used. So let me give you 2 or 3 dimensions. For instance, in France, this notion of not being subject to extraterritorial laws from the US, and this notion of keeping a certain degree of strategic independence is very important. That is a little bit less present in other countries, where they want to make sure that operationally, from a data location and an operational sense, this is managed within Europe. And we try to serve those kinds of needs as well. At the end of the day, the important thing is that we understand what are the requisites that companies have for the data and that we match that. And that's also true for us. And not all of our data is subject to very, very strict constraints. So we build a platform that allows us to have choice. In some use cases, for instance, for myself, now that we are deploying GenAI at scale, I will use OpenAI. And in some other cases, I will use an open weight model that we run on our own platform on Cloud Avenue, so that we are sure that that data is not going onto a hyperscaler and that we keep more control on it.
Yeah, so what you do is what Americans say, you also eat your own dog food. You're using your internal, you're using your AI as an internal solution, and you know, what are the you know, why in such a way? Why did you build it yourself, and why not using all the installed base or other kinds of solution? What triggered the solution?
I mean, that's quite interesting. What happened is that during the initial rush around ChatGPT, we started seeing a lot of shadow AI. So together with our colleagues in the research teams, we built an internal version of ChatGPT. At the beginning, it was not more than that. And we wanted to make sure that we provided some security and some guardrails, and that we were able to support teams in using ChatGPT and GenAI tools without going too far off the left field and potentially leaking company information or exposing us to other security risks. And what we did afterwards is that we developed that into a multi-LLM platform. We added agentic and assistant capabilities and some other features. And one of the key shifts that we did is that we also opened the option to run some of those LLMs, some of those users in our Segment Cloud platform, both because we have customers that were requesting it to us, but also because internally we needed it. And that's great. You can see that we have customers and internal users that have similar concerns. So we are able to capitalize on that to make it more attractive. And that's a platform that we now offer as a public solution for our customers and that we call Live Intelligence.
All right. To go to the table, Kevin, is this platform he's explained a little bit, is this also applied in the Netherlands with customers already?
Yeah, we're working with that. So it's developed in France and it's already deployed at some customers there. So right now we are building a go-to-market strategy here for the Netherlands. So like Miguel said, the France were very early with sovereignty. And we're learning from what we see from deployment here in France, and we're going to try to apply it here at our Netherlands clients as well. So working on a go-to-market now for the Netherlands.
Yeah, and how mature are we in that? Because we have been discussing. I mean, we have basically, if you look at Gemini and it's okay. We're trying to develop an answer to the challenges, the geopolitical challenges we see, and we are confronted with all kinds of things like insecure environments and whatever. How mature are we at the moment? And then the next question is, of course, where will we be in about 5 years?
Yeah, it's difficult to give an exact answer to this question and where we.
But first, a feeling.
No, but I think that we are in a very interesting moment because you mentioned it. I think that. This is not a new subject, but right now with the geopolitical tensions and the wars, etc., there is a sense of urgency that everyone starts to feel. There is an economical tension also, and I think that all IT people, CIOs that are listening to us and all the community of CIO, they're going to have strong challenges also in terms of ensuring that their platform are efficient, cost efficiency, etc., this kind of change, and they need in parallel to be innovative and serve this AI wave. I deeply feel that in Europe, today we have not the same capacity and capabilities than the American one, but we've been seeing it a few months ago with DeepSeek, the Chinese one. There are some actors that are able to disrupt this market. Do we have the capability in Europe to disrupt this market? I deeply believe into it. So in 5 years, will we have technology and European sovereign technology that is able to disrupt this Chinese-US monopoly? I deeply believe into it. What I also think is that there is the question of the maturity of what Europe is capable to propose, but there is also the maturity of the companies themselves. And so basically I would put it on the map of what are we capable of proposing to the IT leaders, and on the opposite side, how the IT leaders are capable of embedding those technology into their ecosystem. So there is also this readiness from the company perspective, from the IT perspective of the companies of, okay, are we ready to invest in European technology? Are we ready to integrate all data into these technologies? Are we able to potentially implementing some hybrid solutions that are public cloud for part of it, for part of the use case, and that are sovereign cloud, sovereign AI for part of the use case that are the most critical, where the IP of the company is the most in danger.
Yeah, well, the odds are a little bit on our side. I mean, the discussions in NATO, this goes to, they simply double it in a couple of weeks. So the defense industry will surely be one of the drivers of this development. So money does not seem the biggest problem we have at the moment. On the other hand, how do we make it a really European, Miguel? How do we make it a European solution? This is French-driven. You're Spanish. I'm Dutch. The Gaia X was also created by the Germans. We have a European AI Act, which is trying to, frame, let's say the hyperscalers and so in a certain way. How do we make it a European solution that everybody trusts this, that does not feel, that this is dominated by, again, or a French or whatever? How do we make this? Do you have a vision on this?
I do have a vision. First, I want to go back to what Pierrick was saying. I think that we really have an opportunity to innovate, because this is not just a technology topic, and it's not an easy topic. Managing data sovereignty without limiting innovation at scale is not a solved topic today. I speak a lot with our American partners, and that is not a topic that they have solved yet. And the reason why they are willing to invest billions of euros, and that's the amount of investment that they are putting in Europe, to be more in sync with the European ecosystem, is because they say how important this is to become. And this is true for Microsoft, who is partnering with us, but it's also true for Google, it's also true for AWS, with whom I speak very often. So clearly, this sensitivity that we may have in Europe to protecting individual rights, to protecting data privacy, and to managing data in a more responsible way, I think that has a lot of pull in the current context, because we know that in order to make AI systems really effective, we need to share huge amounts of data with them. So for me, that is already very important. And the answer to your question is a little bit with this common culture. I think that there is a national angle. The regulation in France is different from the regulation in Germany, which is different from the regulation in other countries. But we start having already at the European level some common language, some common levels in terms of sovereignty and security that we can provide. And I think that we're going to continue seeing some convergence around that. So it may be the case that over time we find that the French flavor, the German flavor, the Dutch flavor, or the Swedish flavor, they are all good enough for most customers. And that's where we're going to start seeing this common ground start to build up. For me, the other point that I think you mentioned, Pierrick, is that we need to nurture the ecosystem. One of the things that I like about the way that we're going about the platform is that we are able to work with French companies, with European companies. I'll mention a couple, Mistral or Lighton, which are not as big as Google or OpenAI, but they are doing very interesting work. And because we don't need to do an exclusive choice. I can do some use cases with them and some others on OpenAI that are less sensitive. And that allows us to also help stimulate their growth and to learn with them. And hopefully tomorrow we're going to be able to address more use cases with those companies.
All right, thanks. For all our guests, online guests, I still have no question at all from you guys. I'm seeing some people I know in as online guests, and so there will be some questions.
If they do not have any question, I have one question for all of them.
Have a question? Yeah.
No, because there is one really, and Miguel, you've mentioned it. It's shadow AI, and I think it's the first question toward sovereignty. You will have to face the question of how sovereign do we want to be? Do we want to be fully sovereign? Maybe not. Maybe, as Miguel was saying, there are some use cases on which we can leverage the public cloud, depending on your industry, depending on your use cases, etc., etc. But the first question is, do you control the AI today in your organization? Do you know what AI is, where AI is used, what it is used for, what intellectual property from your company is put at risk? And I think that controlling this, having a good view on what is this AI, is the first way of going towards sovereignty, because then you're going to be able to take strong decision. Sovereignty or not, or whatever, there's going to be some investment to be done, some decision to be taken, strong decision, maybe some risk to be taken. And if the companies are not controlling their AI landscape, what is built AI embedded into current application, AI that they've been building, generative AI that their employees are using, it's going to be a strong challenge. So the question for the audience is, are you sure that you are knowing where is AI in your company?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I hope that somebody feels obliged to answer this one out of all the listeners.
Maybe can I add to Pierrick's comment?
Yeah?
Because we've been talking to sovereignty, digital sovereignty, sovereign AI. When I speak with digital leaders or colleagues about sovereign AI, I would also like to address some of the myths around sovereign AI, because I think it's clear to have a little bit of a definition of it. And when I speak to people about sovereignty, the first myth that I hear a lot is that people think that to be sovereign, it will cost them a fortune.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be
It's expensive.
a super expensive operation.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work, a lot of money. Of course, it's a lot of work. But the misconception is here that sovereignty is not about training your own LLM from the ground up, harvesting billions of websites and data sources. That is not what sovereignty is about. There are a lot of models already trained that you can run in your own environment, and I don't want to get too technical here, but I want to make sure that the first myth about sovereignty, of having to train everything from scratch and inventing the wheel yourself, that is not what sovereignty is about. It's more about knowing what LLMs you use, knowing in what jurisdiction they fall, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the first myth that I wanted to bust. And the second one, it has been touched upon here already before, but not all your AI projects or all your AI workloads should be run in a sovereign environment. Like Miguel also said, there are more general applications within AI, and they can perfectly run within a public cloud from a hyperscaler or whatever.
Yeah.
This is fine.
You choose your processes.
You choose your processes, and you have to think about in what project am I going to use more general data, more general models, and what business projects, how can I add value to my organization using my own data, my sensitive data, and the AI projects that come from that, those should be put in a more sovereign environment. So just to be clear on the whole concept of sovereignty, it's not as expensive or as big as some people make it in their heads. So I think it's clear to understand that.
Yeah. Okay. It's not always expensive. It's not always difficult. It's doable to a certain extent, and it's not always that you need to build your own foundational model. I mean, there's a lot in between. Also, still the question. I still have no one feels like it's but like it is an interesting question. Is it a problem to have shadow AI?
Yeah.
Is it a problem or is it? Nah.
Yeah, I can.
We don't care at this moment. Like
It is a problem, yes. For sure, it can be a problem for company. And what is the difference between today and yesterday, I would say? Traditional AI versus generative AI and foundational model. When we are speaking about traditional AI, it was mainly a technical / scientific subject, meaning that the teams working on AI with machine learning, deep learning subject, they were very close to the data team, IT team, so very knowledgeable about the protection risk, the risk of data, the leakage, etc., etc. They were quite close to those subjects. There were some leakage, and there are still some leakage, but the teams were almost owner of this subject. What is changing with generative AI is that right now, every single employee is capable of leveraging AI, and every employee is doing it. I mean, it would be a bit naive thinking that the employees are not leveraging AI solutions
everybody
today.
wants to.
Everyone is using it. And by the way, we push company to implement even generalist generative AI solutions to acculturate the employees regarding the usage. And if we are doing it, for example, with live intelligence in an organized and controlled way, we master this shadow AI subjects. What is the risk of shadow AI is that AI is not anymore first in the hands of IT and after in the hands of business. It's now first in the hands of business, and IT needs to be the good enabler for making it available at scale. It's the challenge of the IT team. They need to be the enabler of a business value. This is why we deeply believe that any generative AI, but even AI use cases, has to be deeply connected to the business right now, even more than before. So shadow AI is a risk because the frontline workers, generally speaking, in many cases we can see that with the company we are speaking with across Europe, there is a lack of maturity of understanding what is the AI capable of, what are the pitfalls of those AIs, the BAs, the whatever, these kind of challenges, but also what is the risk of putting data and intellectual property of your company in those AIs.
Take care. If you're ASML, you would be...
And this is quite risky, and we've seen some serious cases of
pricing,
leakage and stuff like that. So it's a challenge, and controlling how AI is used from the business, but also how AI is embedded into source application is very key. And maybe, I don't know, Kevin, if you have maybe want to bring a bit of decomposition of what looks like an AI system globally when we speak with IT teams, and I think that we have a clear vision on that.
Yeah, indeed we do. So we think that in general, a successful AI project consists of 5 factors. And they always start, of course, with a business use case. So you don't want to do AI for the sake of doing AI.
Yeah.
And I think that is what Pierrick also says. Be as close as possible to the business.
It creates value. You will try to create value.
And I think that we can be bolder than that. Yeah. I would say that any CIO today, with the shareholders asking for implementing generative AI, who has not made the link with the business, in 2 years, it's going to be in serious trouble because the AI will not have created value for the company. The shareholders will
stay generalist.
AI, yes, but for what? We are not leveraging this. We are just AI something. So the CIO should really make this bridge through AI with the businesses in order to ensure that they are the enabler of the value creation of the company.
Miguel, do you see worst practices, or you have probably best practices in this approach? And you also seen some companies that did it wrong. Yeah, are there some early learnings from how do you not start doing these kind of things?
I'm going to give you one of each. So I first of all, I agree fully with Pierrick that if we want to create real return on investment, we need to link with the business. For me, when I think about our own uses of Gen AI, the first level is to avoid the risk and to create familiarity. And that you can create it just by giving access to a platform like Live Intelligence that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. And I can tell you, it's also quite important because when people are doing shadow AI, they don't want to admit that they are doing shadow AI, so you don't capitalize. People are doing something maybe very neat, but they don't speak about it loudly, so you get all sorts of undesired behaviors. But one level above, if you want to create value, you need to link that with the transformation. And the rule of thumb that I have for my own business, with my own team, is that we do not launch any use case where the value and the business owner are not clear. So if we don't have a business owner that wants to transform, I don't know, how do you manage quotations, or how you manage orders, or how you manage some other transactional activity, and they want to use Gen AI, if they are there, then you have a good sense that they're going to go through and they're going to use it.
Yeah.
If it's just a new plaything, then that's going to be nice for a while, but potentially that's not going to create real value for the company. And that's a way that we use it for that. And I mean, speaking of shadow AI, I have seen some cases where people have built a tool that connected to operational systems on their own with their own personal API key, and that was not supervised. So there were all sorts of completely terrible attacks that could be envisioned where the model can be tricked into actually doing wrong configurations into systems. Ideally, he was just doing it in the test environment, so thankfully nothing got broken. But I could imagine how much of an impact that could have been for the customer if they had actually been doing this in an operational environment.
Yeah. And it is at this point that I would like to ask Marita to also launch a poll. And I do have a question. Gerard. And the question is, how do you differentiate with AI solutions from all the different SaaS vendors? Think of Agentforce in Salesforce, or like the Microsoft boss says, like
Copilot.
Yeah. Anyway, AI is the end of SaaS. Huh?
I mean, that's one thing where I think all of our partners that do SaaS are very worried, because SaaS is a hugely lucrative business and AI can disintermediate them. But just to answer your question, Harold, I give you the same answer that I give to my own teams and my own internal stakeholders. If I have AI-enabled features in a product, we should use them. We should not redevelop, I don't know, automatic ticket summaries that you could get in ServiceNow. Those exist, those work. If you're using ServiceNow, make use of the features that come in. Then if you want to build specific agents, and the Salesforce platform is particularly good, particularly in a low-code environment, and these are agents and functions that you want to build around the ServiceNow ecosystem, like for your CRM, to qualify opportunities and so on. I think that by all means, using Agentforce is a very good choice. They have a very, very good platform. However, if your agent's scope goes beyond the CRM, goes beyond the information that you already have in Salesforce, data ingestion into Salesforce is expensive, interconnections with other systems can take longer, and at the end of the day, that's going to become a choke point. And I can tell you this because I spoke at length with Salesforce telling them, should we use Agentforce as our own internal agentic platform for all of our use cases? And they were the first ones to discourage me. Not to mention, I mean, that this is just the last comment, which is more relevant to the conversation today, that from a sovereignty point of view, Salesforce runs on public cloud, so you have more limited control in terms of the sovereignty of your data that you put on that platform. So that's also something to take into account. So for me, it's a very, very good tool for some use cases, but it's probably not adapted for others.
Pierrick has some addition to this.
Yeah, because I think it's important also for the audience to understand that we are, as Orange Business, providing some solutions like live intelligence, etc. But we are really end-to-end when it comes to implementing AI, meaning that we are able to host, we are able to provide the GPU as a service, we are able to provide LLM as a service, we are able to provide solutions, SaaS solutions that can be relying on open source software, that can rely on our own servers, that can rely on public cloud also. So yeah, we have this flexibility. And on top of that, we are able to build solutions for our customers. Right? Just to give some numbers, Orange Business at a European scale, when it comes to digital and data and digital transformation, it's 7,000 digital and data AI experts, 2,500 data and AI experts specialized.
Do you also help companies with the legal environment?
We work with, so we have an entity with, which is Orange Cyber Defense, and we work on those aspects, on the data protection aspect, on the AI Act aspect also. But what is really key also is to understand and what makes us different. Our solution, I deeply believe that we have a very amazing roadmap on this solution specifically, where we are going to be able, depending on the task that has been asked to the tool, to leverage all the public LLMs or the fully sovereign solution in one single solution. We're going to have that. It's on the roadmap, and we are working very hard on this right now. Meaning that in one solution, we're going to be all sovereign or leveraging top-notch technology that are available on the public cloud. This is one very specific advantage that the solution gives, but we have also a deep knowledge with our European experience, and this is my role in the company, to ensure that we are capitalizing on this knowledge of those 2,500 data and AI specialists to advise and find the good way of implementing AI at company. Meaning that we can bring and help the company to get competitive advantage on their market, leveraging AI correctly. And potentially it's not the big project that you have to implement. Potentially it's some stuff that even that you can solve with traditional AI that can run on your infrastructure, etc. But and meaning that globally we can support company bringing solutions that are, I think, ahead of the market, or at least on the roadmap ahead of market, but also on the way to approach those solutions to not make it a huge investment in the first stage and taking the sovereignty as a good level as they should. Okay,
and to answer Jared's question here, do you also sometimes advise, like, some SaaS solutions probably are not fitting your future solution? Is that are you going that far?
Sometimes we said clearly this. Sometimes the SaaS aspect and embedding AI into SaaS solution can be the way of doing it. Miguel was recommending it, for example, for ServiceNow, Salesforce, etc. This is true. But from the moment the data that you're putting into it is your core business, I think that putting it, closing it into a silo of a SaaS solution can be a challenge. So if in terms of enterprise architecture, there is a potential challenge at company level doing this, or potential risk of vendor locking or sovereignty risk, what's going to do Salesforce tomorrow with their platform, with their price, with their data, with their servers, etc., etc. If the core data of the company is there, maybe we should and could advise that be careful. There is a question to be asked there in terms of enterprise architecture. What is the best tool to fit these functions that you're covering?
Okay, yeah, interesting. Well, time flies. We're not ready yet, but I do want to ask to the participants a question. Are there any dilemmas, or are you sort of the biggest dilemmas you are facing now, around implementing AI or operationalize AI, or do you feel like this should be, you're more sovereign in my AI solution? Are there among the listeners any questions or remarks that we can take on the table here? So if you please make yourself known or type something, then we take that at the table. Kevin, if you're listening to all these kind of things, like Orange is a big company. You're end to end.
Yeah.
To what extent can we help? Because I know France. France has companies like many people, and then Germany, you go to a family office and that's still 25,000 people. The Dutch economy is different.
It's true, no, it's true, and in some ways, I think it's especially interesting because we're talking a lot about countries, but it's also interesting to speak about the company. How can you participate in this sovereignty? For example, when you want to implement AI, when you're choosing a model, you're limited in how sovereign you can make that. You are dependent on what models are out there. Now, the best models right now are from America, from China. We have some European initiatives right now, but for choosing what model you're going to use, your sovereign abilities are limited. For the infrastructure that you're going to run your models on, you already have a lot more control on how sovereign you're going to make that. The least sovereign approach might be to do everything in a cloud from a hyperscaler, but you can also look at running your own local GPUs within your own center. So you already start to have some sovereignty in that regard. When we're talking about the data, because every AI project needs high quality data, that's where you can really start to incorporate sovereignty in your project. Know where your data is stored, have full control on is it a private cloud, is it stored in your private data center. That's where your sovereignty really starts. So I think indeed in the Netherlands, as a smaller player, for the models itself, we are more dependent on European initiatives or other global models. For the infra, you get some sovereignty back, but it's expensive to run your own local GPUs. And for the data, that's where you can take full control on where you store it, how you store that. So that's what I think.
And is that difficult? I mean, we just had a short chat. I mean, there's also new solutions in the market with low code, no code for smaller and medium enterprises to enter this scene. Is that something you would like to offer as well?
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to data, it's difficult. But it's a subject that is not new. The question of data governance, the question of data management, and there are many solutions on the market already. There are many solutions that are embedding AI and GenAI technologies in order to do that better right now. I think that we are really good at data governance of the structured data. Because this is what we've been using since years. And when I say we are really good, some companies are facing huge challenge because data governance is a complex subject and it's always evolving, right? When it comes to managing and securing the unstructured data, it's another topic. It's even much more complex. There are some research fields that are not yet really mature on this subject. What I'm sure of today, and that the market is going to move toward this governance of unstructured data for sure, governance of AI itself for sure, and what I'm sure and what we see globally on the market with the customer we are working with, that those customers who started initiatives years ago on managing correctly their data with whatever tool, low code, no code, or own made tool, whatever, but the companies who are mature on their data management tends to be more, I would say, have more facility to implement AI engineering solutions right now. And I'm 100% sure that those are the ones who are going to perform quite well on AI.
I have a question from the additional question, and probably it links a little bit to this. Do you have use cases where you use AI to deduplicate and clean data?
Yes.
I mean, the unstructured thing, you can built with synthetic data. You can
Yes.
add to the LLM, whatever.
Yes.
But this is the other way around.
Yeah,
Do
indeed.
you have use cases in that area, or maybe also the question to you, Miguel? But well,
But
Pierrick,
it's
he's
a,
here.
yeah, it's a really interesting question. So when we are speaking about deduplicating data, we are generally very close to the master data management kind of question. So we have a master data, we need to goldenize this data, and we need to ensure that there is only one version of the truth of this data that is shared and shareable to all the different departments, source system, and analytics system, and AI of the company. It's a really interesting topics, and indeed we have use cases where we are working with companies on this kind of subjects. And actually, I don't know who has been asking that, but we have a demo on that. I can show live a demo on this where we've been implementing with generative AI some way of mastering the data, deduplicating the data, and making a kind of clever automatized process, almost fully automatized process for this kind of challenges. Then the question is, where do you position this in the company ecosystem? Because leveraging AI for deduplicating is not complex. It's a technical subject. We can deduplicate leveraging AI, etc. But then the real question is, how do you architecture that to ensure that the AI is at the good moment in the company and that you are able to feedback loop into your different systems? This is where the real complexity is. And
Okay, but that becomes too technical.
This is a bit too technical.
But okay, there are use cases in this sense, and
there is.
I hope this answers your question, Gerard or Gerard. I guess you're Dutch. Any more questions from the audience? Because please, I mean, this is your opportunity. This is a nice topic, and I'd like to get a feeling where we are in about 5, 6, 7 years. Miguel, are we getting there? Are we surviving there? Are we thriving, or are the European initiative thriving and will at least be a real factor and a mature factor in the next 5, 6, 7 years in your view? I mean, we need time. So. We need time. At the moment, that we are nowhere, I would say.
No, I mean, if you look at the AI ecosystem, we are happy that ASML exists because they are the only European player that is really a world leader as part of this ecosystem for the chipset manufacturing and design. But what I think is happening is that a lot of the key components on open source have a lot of traction. And there are some European players that are really making very good progress. And I see also that the European governments and the European public institutions are really taking this increasingly seriously. You were speaking earlier, Herman, about the importance of the decisions that are being made in NATO. And there are many European members in NATO. So they also are thinking very seriously about the kind of investment that they want to make. Orange Business participated not that long ago in an 80 million plus RFP from the French army to build an AI supercomputer for the future of defense. And you can think that this is not a topic that is only important for the French, but it's important all across Europe. So people are going to be investing in it. And for me, one note of hope as well is when I look, a couple of weeks ago, we had Vivatech in Paris. And Vivatech, once upon a time, it was a very French-centric affair. You had mainly French startups, French big companies, and a few French ministers come in. This year, there were more than 140,000 participants. There were really lots of representatives from all across Europe. You start seeing other public powers coming up. You see the CEO of NVIDIA coming in and making a number of announcements. So I think that the tech ecosystem in Europe is really developing quite rapidly. And I'm very hopeful that we're going to have European solutions and a European approach to AI that is going to be more focused also on trust and bringing the right use of data, in addition to bringing the most innovative use of data. I think you can balance the two.
Yeah, and what is the role of the EU in this? How can they support this development? And probably you also see initiatives in Germany, like what is it called? Well, you have a couple of initiatives in Germany at the moment as well. How can we support this from the EU?
I think that we need a common language. We need to have common concepts. You were speaking earlier about the standards still being at the national level. I think the EU is doing a lot of effort on this regard. I think that we need to have legislation like the AI Act and others that are under consideration that are easy to operationalize, that bring trust without bringing too high a burden in terms of the technical debt that they create. And lastly, we need investment. I think the European Union, the European Commission have a very important role to play in stimulating the growth and the reliance on European solutions. And that doesn't mean using European solutions exclusively, as we were saying earlier. We work very well with our American partners, but also putting more effort into them so that we can help them grow. And I think that's something that we're seeing in other regions. I mean, just to give us an example, some of the main AI factories, if you look at Asia Pacific, are very heavily supported by the local government, like Singtel in Singapore and some others as well. So I think the European Union has absolutely the scale to help us progress in this regard.
Yeah. Kevin, I mean, well, you're basically and you're working in the Dutch market. Orange is huge. I mean, it's not only Europe, it's also elsewhere. There will be a lot
global,
of... Yeah, it's global. So there will be a lot of data in transit. There will be a lot of other challenges you may have. How do you help larger companies? Because we have Dutch companies that sail the seas, let's say, baggeraars, like they make harbors and whatever. They say, we don't care how it's organized because we need to work with, to be able to work with the hell with this this solution, and we want to have it a different solution. How do you? But still, they have to comply to certain legal circumstances. How do we help them?
No, it's true. So what you say, Orange is huge. Orange is global. They have a background in telecom connectivity, and the interesting thing is we are helping a lot of these, how you call them, huge sailors here in the Netherlands with their connectivity, with their 5G, with their telco. And I think the beautiful thing is Orange has invested a lot in the last couple of years to make that shift more to the digital industry, hire a lot of experts in data, in AI. So we are slowly showing our partners here in the Netherlands, like, hey guys, we have foreseen this shift and the importance of data and AI, and we invested in it, and we are able to help you on these other subjects as well. And I think the power lies in this global power that we have. So, like I said, France has already been working on sovereignty a couple of years. Yeah. We can leverage that. We can use that here in the Netherlands to say, like, hey, we've already helped, for example, a few cities on implementing fully sovereign AI workloads that are private, that are sensitive. We know how that works, and I mean, you say, what is our challenge here in Europe? Paris is a short train ride away, and Pierrick is here, and he can help us also implement it here with our partners. So.
And maybe just to add, I think that the complexity of multinationals is the scale, and potentially there are cultural difference between countries, maturity, which is different on data, on IT, etc. We are working on this kind of subject with multinationals also to frame a bit the initiatives, and I think that's quite important to identify where should we start, where should we act urgently. And have a common framework, potentially a common language to approach this challenge at scale. What we've been developing at Orange Business is, and we are doing it regularly, but we are creating some experts meeting. It's my role in the company also to ensure that we are capitalizing on our experience, and we are creating some experts meeting in order to ensure that we are able to scale the initiatives, to create some frameworks, to create some methodology that are working on one case, but also that are working at scale. So approaching one unit of a multinational, expanding it to several countries, several business units, etc. And we have the perfect case, for example, in manufacturing, when we are dealing with AI subjects, identifying the perfect pilot for one factory, ensuring return on investment with the sovereignty subject, which are quite key for manufacturing, and ensuring a correct return on investment, and then the scalability. We've implemented all the frameworks in order to assess company, but also some accelerators in order to be sure that we're able to provide tailored and customized solution at scale within one single framework that is scalable at multinational level.
Yeah. Miguel, a question on this sovereignty thing in total. I mean, we want to innovate as a company, and the logical question would be use AI, use all these things, do the investments, and AI will help you speeding up a lot of things. But is it? Do you have use cases or examples or sectors that really show that by using AI at this point in time, they innovate the real business process? Or is it at this point in time not mature enough, and is it first a sort of period of we are complicating things because we are adding another layer on top, and then after a while it becomes more mature, and then we start realizing how to use it? I mean, that's in most cases, if you introduce new technologies, sometimes you go through a phase. Where are we?
Yeah, I think we are a little bit in the middle. The thing is, technology is moving so fast that when you think about the Gartner innovation cycle with the hype curve and the trough of disillusionment, we're almost skipping it because of how fast things are moving. For me, there are some use cases that have already been productive for a year or two, for instance, on coding. I can tell you we have a number of developers within Orange, including across my teams, using coding assistants, and they can really show that they are more productive. You need fewer days to complete equivalent tasks. That's a fairly common situation. That does not mean that you don't need developers anymore. You still need developers, but you can accomplish more with the same number of developers. I think, however, that on many areas we are not there yet in terms of transforming our processes. So what can happen, I don't know if you've seen the cartoon, is that someone wants to send an email with 3 bullet points. They use an AI assistant to transform it into 4 fantastic paragraphs. And on the other side, you have a person using an AI assistant to summarize it down to 3 bullet points. Has there been a lot of productivity gain in that transaction, in that communication? Well, maybe not. So I think that it's a lot about how we use it. I think that the level of maturity is fairly high on some very concrete applications, and we are still in the exploration phase in others. Like, everyone is really convinced that we're going to have massive impacts in customer support. We are already seeing impacts in terms of summarization, in terms of suggesting actions. That's already something that is fairly operational, but full agentic customer support, I think we are not there yet. So
yeah.
That's right now at the edge.
Okay,
maybe just one comment regarding that, because when I think it's important when we are speaking about generative AI, we can distinguish the generalist Gen AI, the specialized, I would say, department specialized AI, and the very core AI that companies will develop. When we are going to speak about generalist AI and department AI, we are going to win percentage of operational efficiency, small percentage, which are quite difficult to measure. And when the IT teams are going to be asked by shareholders, what is AI impacting on us? They're going to say, hey, 3% of time by week that we are not sure how the people are investing in, etc.
Yeah.
This is why we put a very strong focus on ensuring that we are managing to connect the power of Gen AI today with the IP of the company and the data of the company to implement core AI subjects, because it's going to be much easier for the IT team to show the value of AI because directly connected to the business of the companies. So technologically speaking, we have everything. We have the power we have that can be sovereign today to answer very complex use cases. We are doing drug research, kind of very complex use cases. We have the technology to do it today. It has absolutely to be linked to the core of the company, to the core business of the company, if we want to make it really impactful. That's my point.
Yeah. Last question, Kevin, because it's almost time.
Time flies.
Time flies. 5 o'clock almost. But there's still time, people, to have a last question, if you like. Kevin, what are the sectors that are first movers?
First movers. I think we see financial markets are moving. I think in healthcare also you see a lot of initiatives now. So mainly markets also that are under pressure. So the example of the healthcare, they have this need to
innovate,
to invest in AI. In the Netherlands we have this thing called the vergrijzing. People are getting older and we're getting less kids, we all know it. These kind of sectors, they need to innovate. Same as military. You're going to see so many initiatives regarding AI now in these kind of sectors. So I think the sectors that are under pressure the most, they're going to be the first movers. They are already the first movers.
Yeah. But then, if I listen to you, like, there's a lot of things to learn. I mean, generative AI. I mean, even prompting is already a difficult thing for many people in companies.
Yeah, exactly. And the difficulty for the IT teams is that it's moving sand. It's changing every day. Every day there are new tools you've been mentioning. There are new tools, new initiatives, new etc. Prompting is what it is today. Maybe in 2 months there's going to be a technology which is going to disrupt this, and we're going to change our way of approaching it. The agentic AI is arriving very fast, and it's going to certainly have a strong impact on companies. I would definitely recommend the IT teams to ensure they have this flexibility. And when I say flexibility, taking in mind what we've been speaking about, we need to be clear on where we want to be sovereign, where not.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that our IT systems are flexible. CI/CD, infra as a code, all this kind of way of approaching our IT systems that are ensuring that we are able to react fast. Why we need to react fast and why the companies right now need to be really fast, because the AI is very impactful. It's impacting our IT systems. The algorithms are changing every day, new way of working, new way of approaching the code, etc. So we need to be able to integrate this fast, otherwise we're going to be late. So the IT landscape itself needs to be quite adaptive. But also the data and the way we are approaching data across businesses will change. We've been seeing it. Maybe our way to purchase tomorrow is not going to be the same. Our way to market tomorrow is not going to be the same. Our way of summarizing is not going to be the same, because we are summarizing, then re-summarizing, etc. So the data itself will change, and we need to ensure that the IT systems at company level is flexible enough to absorb the algorithm changes and the data changes.
I understand. So this is also an architectural kind of, the enterprise architects will be. That's the next conversation, because we don't have time for that today. Miguel, is there any question I should have asked to you what I forgot and you want to mention?
No, I think that Pierrick said it best. I think that this is a topic where customer choices, company choices matter a lot. And I think each company, each CIO needs to look at how they are managing the data, and they need to build. And at least my strong encouragement is build your own infrastructure so you can make those choices, so that you are not constrained in them. All
right. Well, on that note, I would like to thank Miguel. Thank you very much. Kevin, Pierrick, I think.
You can do it with the French accent perfectly.
Pierrick, c'est mieux. There is for most people that are still in the call. There's a digital goodie bag afterwards. You mentioned a demo or something. Probably we can put it in there. There will be a report to download. There will be all kinds of things. So we'll make that available after the meeting, after the session. And for now, have a nice evening. Thank you very much.